Couples counseling and couples coaching are two very different things. And if you've ever wondered how they're different or have thought that they're exactly the same, in this episode, I'm going to tell you exactly how they're different, what it is that would bring you to want one versus the other, and the difference each of them have made in my husband and I's marriage. As a couples coach, the most common thing I hear in my day-to-day interactions with people is, how do I get my spouse to want to go to counseling? Because counseling is the first most automatic thing that we think of when we think of getting help for our marriage. Now, the biggest thing to start with is the realization that deciding to get brave enough to let someone else in, to even consider getting counseling or coaching, it is extremely brave. And the worst thing that can happen is that you go ahead and you find that bravery, you find that courage, you find someone, you go to them, and then you don't get the results you want. That is very frustrating. And often couples who come to me, they've been to counseling multiple times throughout their marriage. They did a season here and that produced a little results, and then they weren't getting results again. So they go back and that wasn't really working. So many times by the time couples come to me as a couples coach, they're kind of burned out on the whole concept. So what I believe is couples often go to the wrong place without knowing it, because they don't understand the difference between couples coaching and couples counseling and why they would want one or the other. So there's a very distinct difference between counseling and coaching. Counseling focuses on your past and how it's impacting your present. Like if you saw your parents arguing all the time when you were growing up, how is that showing up in you and your spouse's conversations now? Or if you never saw your parents fight, how is that showing up in your conversations now? Now, couples coaching is very different, because couples coaching focuses on the future that you want. What is the marriage that you long for? What is the connections and the interactions that you desire? What is it that you're choosing in this present moment, in this present conversation? Is it taking you towards that future, or is it taking you away from it? And while the past does come up when it's needed, the most important thing that coaching understands, now mind you, there are different types of coaching, so this is not true for all types of coaching. The coaching that I apply and has powerfully, radically changed my life is what's called transformational coaching. And within transformational coaching, there's a lot of different types as well. So the type that I'm talking about, the transformational coaching that I'm talking about, focuses on what we believe, produces what we think, which produces what we feel, which produces what we do. So most often couples know, hey, I don't like the way I feel in conversations. I don't like the way I react and respond in conversations. Most approaches just simply focus on behavior modification. Let me try and change the way you feel. Go ahead and push through that uncomfortable feeling in those conversations when tension comes up. Or, rather than, getting mad and exploding, can you just count to 10? They're focused on behavior modification. But this is like a train. Up here is the engine where the beliefs that you have about yourself, about others, and about life, that's driving what you're going to think, what you're going to feel, and what you're going to do. If you don't like the destination of what you're feeling and what you're doing, we got to get to the engine. We've got to get to what you're believing. And that's what transformational coaching focuses on, because the beautiful thing is once you change what you're believing, you're automatically going to think different thoughts. You're going to feel different feelings. You're going to do different things. So I'm going to use a concept in Jeff and I's life and help you understand the difference of how it functioned, the impact of coaching on it and the impact of counseling on it. So Valentine's Day is a perfect example. This was a concept that within probably the first 2 to 3 years of our marriage, it began to get pretty stressful. And we even got to the point at one point in our marriage where we're like, let's just not celebrate it. It is just too stressful. We end every Valentine's Day arguing. So let's just stop celebrating it. So when, what would happen, just to give you a slight idea of it, is Jeff would give me a gift, and let's say he got me chocolates. And I would be upset because he should have known that I was on some cleanse or on some diet. He shouldn't have gotten me chocolates. He should have gotten me flowers. And then, another time he would get me flowers, and he should have known that I had been working my meal plan to have a cheat day on Valentine's Day so I could get candy. Why did he get me flowers and not chocolates? And year after year, that was a simple context for how it would go. And, it would come up in it would come up in counseling, and we would talk about it. And it would usually come down to like, well, Jeff didn't grow up in a home where he saw his father doing romantic things for his mom. So, maybe Jeff could, try and be different than what he saw his dad being. And, I grew up in a home where my parents were my mom didn't ever like any gifts she got, if she ever got gifts, which was pretty rare. And so what that did was for Jeff and I, when we, as we heard that and began applying that, it just kind of made us blame each other more, because why did Jeff need to be like his dad? Why did I need to be like my mom? And we didn't get really any results. Once we got into coaching, then all of a sudden we began to look at what are we believing? And what began to reveal itself was shocking, in that I had no idea. Scientists have discovered that most of our core beliefs, 90% of our core beliefs, are developed between conception and 2 years old. I had no idea that in that phase of my life, I picked up the belief that I wasn't worthy of love. Jeff had no idea that in that season of life, he picked up the belief that he doesn't have what it takes. Now, all of a sudden, Valentine's Day took on a whole different concept. I could understand that if I believe I don't deserve love, my automatic reaction, first of all, I'm going to feel really uncomfortable when I'm receiving gifts because I don't think I deserve them. Jeff, when he's getting gifts or giving gifts, he's not gonna, he's automatically thinks he doesn't have what it takes. So he's going to be really nervous and really in his head about what to get. When I get the gifts, I'm going to want to reject them, because if I don't feel I deserve them, I'm going to want to reject them. I'm going to make up excuses and be frustrated that they weren't what I wanted, so that I can make myself right, that I don't deserve what I want, or I don't deserve love. And, even the context of Valentine's Day, the moment Jeff gets any inkling that it isn't what I want or isn't what I desired, he's going to get to be right that he doesn't have what it takes to be a good spouse. Now, all of a sudden, as we begin to understand, coaching helped us learn how to do the work in our backyard, take responsibility for what we're believing, thinking, feeling, and doing. All of a sudden, we began to understand what we'd been doing for all these years on Valentine's Day. We began to shift our beliefs. I began to discover what was more true than I'm not worthy of love is that I have the ability to make moments worth having. Jeff began to discover that what's more true than he doesn't have what it takes is that in partnership or in community, he actually has all that he needs to make things what he wants them to be. As we began to shift our beliefs, we began to think different thoughts, have different conversations about Valentine's Day. We began to feel different about it, and we began to experience different things because we were acting and responding in different ways. Valentine's Day began to be something we enjoy and look forward to. That is the significant difference for us and our experience between counseling and coaching. Now, I'm not saying that counseling isn't important. I think counseling is very important. It is very helpful when you are dealing with addictions, when you are dealing with abuse, when you are dealing with places that you just can't seem to find, you need support getting to some really deep things that have control over you. Coaching is vitally important if you want to learn to have self-control over the ways you're reacting and responding and what you're creating in your life. I find that most couples are wanting to discover how to communicate. They want to understand how to communicate through to connection. When they get stuck in a conversation, why do they react and respond certain ways? Why do they do certain things? Coaching is perfect for that. And by coaching, I don't mean sitting with a coach or on the phone with a coach. I'm talking about a coaching mindset where you learn to be with yourself in a way where you coach yourself through what's going on for you. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you believing? When you're in a conversation and it doesn't go the way you want it, how do you coach yourself through to discover what's actually underneath those things? That's the power of coaching. And I've created a whole program for people that doesn't actually require you talk to anybody. You can get started today learning how to coach yourself into discovering and becoming who you want to become in every single conversation with your spouse. So I hope this has been helpful for you to discover the difference, some distinct differences between counseling and coaching. I have couples who love their counselor and they apply my coaching program in addition to what they're doing, and that works well for them. Couples who don't want to get coaching or counseling, they do my program, and occasionally if they get stuck, they add on a coaching call with me and get unstuck. There's lots of different approaches, but ultimately, coaching focuses on the future and counseling focuses on the past. You get to decide what helps drive you to what you want, thinking about the past or thinking about the future. I am so grateful you have tuned in. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can connect with me through the description. Please like and comment and subscribe, and I will see you next week.